So those are the announcements for today. And now we will delve right into the discourse. And today's discourse will be on quieting the mind. I wanted to start the discourse with a Buddhist story that deals with quieting the mind. So in this story, we have a disciple. The disciple approaches his master and says, "Master, how do I calm my mind?" The master responds, "I'm too busy right now to answer your question. Go talk to your first Dharma brother and pose the question to him." So the disciple did as he was told. He went and found his first Dharma brother, and he asked his first Dharma brother, "How do I calm my mind?" The first Dharma brother responds, "I have a headache. Why don't you go ask that question to your second Dharma brother?" So the disciple's getting a little bit frustrated, but he says, "Okay, I'll go ask the question to my second Dharma brother." He finds his second Dharma brother, and he says, "How do I calm my mind?" The second Dharma brother responds, "I have a stomach ache. I'm not feeling well. Why don't you go ask that question of the master?" At this point, the disciple is really getting frustrated. He goes back, he finds his master, and he starts complaining. He says, "I've talked to you, I've talked to my first Dharma brother, my second Dharma brother. I've posed the same question about how can I calm my mind, and none of you have responded in a way that answers this question." And the master paused and looked at the disciple and then says, "You fool, each and every one of us has answered your question." And at this point, the disciple reaches enlightenment. So you might be asking yourself, how did the disciple reach enlightenment? And given the responses of the master and the two Dharma brothers, how were they possibly answering his question? Well, what the disciple realized is that nobody can calm your mind for you. Only you are the one that is able to do that. No one can provide the answer for you about how to calm your own mind. This is something that you must do by going within and addressing it and dealing with it yourself. So this is how the disciple achieved enlightenment. Now, we're discussing how to calm the mind today, how to quiet the mind, how to still the mind, because of this time of year. During this time of year, and this is even before we were dealing with COVID, it is a very stressful time for a lot of people. Stressful because of the family interactions, stressful because of the potential financial drain on purchasing people gifts, stress because of the worry about whether or not the gifts you buy are going to be liked by the people you're buying them for. All of these different stresses causing anxieties and issues for a lot of people. And then compounding upon all of that, we have COVID, which is causing a lot of people to fear about their own physical well-being, fears about the physical well-being of their family members and loved ones, fears about losing your job because of COVID and the shutdowns in many parts of the country. One of the best ways to deal with stress and anxiety is to calm the mind. And if you are truly in tune to who and what you are, you will see this, but let me try to explain it a little further so it is crystallized. We are co-creators with God. Everything that exists around you in the physical plane is a result of you. You are the source for all of it, whether you want to accept this or believe it or not. Now, the mind is the link between all possibility and this physical creation around you. And that's why it is so important to address what is going on with the mind. There's a saying that we have here at the Spirit of Lotus, and it's used by other organizations as well. But the saying is, spirit into mind and mind into matter. With mind being the link between spirit, which is all possibility, and matter, which is this physical plane around you. Now, if you realize that you are the source of this creation around you, and you want to create your dreams and create them with clarity, you cannot do that if you do not have a calm and still mind. If your mind is racing to and fro, distracted, going from thoughts of the past to thoughts of the present to thoughts of the future, all of this distraction will logically impact your ability to create and to create clearly your dreams. Another problem with a mind that is racing and flitting about is that often such a mind is filled with fear, filled with anxiety. And if you accept that you are the source of all that exists, and you also understand that fear is a very powerful magnet. As it says in the Bible, fear not lest it come upon you. So if you have this distracted mind, this unquiet mind that is flitting all about, filled with fear, fear is the engine that is driving the creation about you. So instead of creating your dreams and creating dreams with clarity, what are you doing? You are creating a world of your fears. Fear upon fear upon fear. So in order to escape that, we must quiet the mind. We must still the mind. So how do we know that stilling the mind has this benefit of being able to create clearly and to free ourselves from anxiety and fears and illusions and Maya and glamour? Well, an analogy here might be instructive. If you have an unquiet mind, it's like wind blowing on a lake. And if you have this lake and wind is blowing on the lake, what does the wind do? It initially starts to create ripples on the surface of the lake. And depending on the strength of the wind, these ripples grow in size and they become waves. And now you have all of this disturbance on the surface of the lake. And in addition to having this disturbance on the surface of the lake, all of this wind and all of this movement of the water is now disturbing the lake within itself. It's disturbing the bottom of the lake so that the mud and the dirt is starting to get mixed in with the water. And what do you have? This dirty, cloudy lake that has all of these waves on top of it. That is what an unquiet mind is. A still mind, on the other hand, if we're using this analogy of the wind in the lake, there is no wind and the lake is calm. There are no ripples on the top of the lake. The mud and the muck and the mire from the bottom of the lake is not being disturbed and brought up. So the lake is clear. You can see without obstruction from the surface of the lake all the way to the bottom of the lake, all the way to the source. A quiet mind allows for this type of clarity. It allows for not just attention, but focused attention. And it is through focused attention that we can achieve great results. We've shared this before, but what is the difference between attention and focused attention? Well, attention is like having a bucket of water and you pour it on a stone. Focused attention is taking that same bucket of water, but instead of pouring all of the water out at once onto the stone, you're letting it drip out slowly, drop by drop onto the stone. And over time, this drip onto the stone will actually bore a hole through the stone itself. This is the power of focused attention. What also happens when you have a quiet mind? A quiet mind allows you to be detached. So for people whose mind is scattered, and what is happening with them is that they're attaching to different thoughts. So let's say something from the past comes up. They attach to that thought of the past. And if it was a disturbing thing from the past, they're actually reliving what happened in the past. It is literally, physically causing them pain and suffering, mentally and emotionally causing them pain and suffering, because they have attached to it. And with a scattered mind, if you're attaching to thoughts of the future, fears of the future, am I still going to have a job, given what's happening with COVID? Am I going to be able to pay my bills, my power, my water, my mortgage, my rent, my car payments, my food? Continually attaching to these fears of thoughts of things that will be happening in the future, which haven't even happened yet, again, causes this physical, emotional reaction in your body. With a calm, quiet, still mind, you are detached from thoughts. With a calm, still mind, it doesn't mean that you don't have thoughts. So let's make that clear. It just means that when thoughts come in, you are observing them as a witness, as opposed to attaching to them. So they come into your mind. You're perfectly aware that they have come into your mind, but you let them pass. You don't hold on to them. You don't grasp onto them. A calm mind is a detached mind. A calm mind also keeps you in the present. There really is, as we've discussed in other discourses, no past, present, and future. And you can look this up, and physicists know this. Really, the past, present, and future, things are all happening at once at the same time. So if you are in the present, perfectly in the present, you are aware of the past and you are aware of the future because it all exists at the same time. A lot of people worry that if they are always focusing on the present, always focusing with all of their attention and their concentration and their energy on what they are doing now, then maybe they'll forget about things that have happened in the past. And they'll have this constant worry about what's going to happen in the future, even though they're trying not to think about it. But again, everything is happening all at the same time. If you are truly in the present, you are aware of everything that was, is, and ever shall be. Another benefit of having a still, quiet mind is that you are non-judgmental. Again, you are in this witness observing state. You are not attaching emotion to thought. You are not seeing something as good or bad. Take an apple, for instance, and let's say it's a rotten apple. The apple is what it is. Just because it's rotten doesn't mean the apple is bad or good. It just means that the apple is at a certain state of, shall we say, evolution. From seed to tree to apple, and now it's passing again down to seed. When we have thoughts and attach emotional responses to those thoughts, then we are caught in judgment. This gets our mind going into monkey mind and causes all these problems that we've been discussing. Again, a quiet, still mind is non-judgmental. Perhaps one of the greatest benefits of a quiet, still mind is that it gets you out of yourself, out of your own problems, out of your ego. And because of that, a calm, quiet mind allows you to be more universal and to be united with your brothers and sisters and united with all creation around you. One other benefit that I'll mention of a quiet, still mind is that it is adaptable and flexible. It's like water. Water comes in many forms, right? Water can be a gas, water can be a liquid, water can be a solid. Water adapts to the circumstances around it. If it's cold, it's a solid. If it's warm, it's a liquid, or really warm, then it's a gas. Water can be gentle, water can be powerful, water can be destructive, water can be healing. So one of the goals of having this quiet, still mind is to be adaptable and flexible, so that no matter what happens in your life, no matter the circumstance, you are able to address it to the best of your ability. So how do we quiet the mind? As we shared in the Buddhist story at the beginning of the discourse, this is something that only you can do. Nobody can quiet your mind for you. So you have to put in the effort and you have to put in the time. And you have to be the one that is disciplined. So to quiet the mind, again, the goal is not to stop thoughts from coming in. It's to stop attachment to thoughts. Allow them to come in and let them pass. We do this all the time when we meditate, right? We instruct people that during the meditation, if a thought comes in, just don't attach to it. Observe it as a witness, let it go, and bring yourself back to the present by observing the breath going in and out of the nose. Now, calming and stilling the mind is very difficult. It's very difficult for anybody at any stage of their spiritual evolution. So it does take dedication and it does take practice. It does take willpower. But if you work at it, I guarantee you that you will see the benefits of having this calm, still mind, of being free from anxiety, free from fear, free from judgment, more unified with your brothers and sisters, and able to stay in the present moment. So that's what I wanted to share today. And now we will have a deep level meditation.